Hey, 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 welcome back to Common Mansplaining, where no elites are allowed and no opinion is too common. I'm Eddie, and that's Christian. Today we're going to talk about my favorite boogaboo, that's AI, artificial intelligence. And I'm going to try to allay any of Christian's optimistic suspicions to the contrary. I'm going to explain why AI is truly a devastating danger to mankind and why we need to tread extremely carefully to have any prayers of coming out on the other side of this thing unscathed.
And me as a common man, I think that Eddie doth protest too much.
And maybe I do. So let's start with this. I did a short the other day with Mo Gaudat. Are you familiar with him?
Not by name, no.
He's a lot of people call him kind of like one of the godfathers of AI, right? He's been in it from for a very long time. He's been an executive level programmer at a variety of places and has a resume, list of credentials through the roof. And he very much agrees with me that there are three essential inevitables. One is that AI is coming, right? AGI. And when I say AGI, that's artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence. Basically, an AI that will be vastly smarter than humans, like orders of magnitude smarter. That will happen.
Book smart.
Not just book smart.
Not street smart, yo.
Well, I'll explain why, but not just book smart. So that's one of them. One of them is that somebody will be able to get their hands on, like a bad actor will be able to get their hands on it, and three, stuff will go wrong, right? Like it's just you're gonna have issues. We're not going to be able to understand it. There's so many problems with AI that it's hard to even know where to start. But since you brought up,
all right, we'll talk about where to start. Let me give you a starting point.
Yeah, right? Fire away.
So AI, in my experience, like when I played games, it was like a programmed artificial intelligence that would essentially respond to my, like when you're playing a game against the computer versus playing against a real player, that would sort of scale. Right. And usually they'd have to cheat, like they'd give the computer intelligence more resources, or things would go faster so that it could compete with you as a real person, right? Because our intellect could blow away, at least my experience. So that was sort of like limited applications, usually in a sort of gaming situation, or for a particular scenario, you'd put in rules-based AI that when Correct. Like what were called decision engines, right? And it was like the early high frequency stock traders would do this. They just set these rules, and then when the things would happen, then the computers would do this. And it wasn't really doing anything other than what it was told. But there were so many decisions they were able to recognize and make those decisions faster than human could. And that was a type of artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah. So let's
now they're talking about what they call black box machine learning, which is where rather than me setting all these rules and decisions that I want you, when these parameters are met, you make a decision this way. You're now letting the computer learn and change those parameters on their own, and so you don't have boundaries. So that the scary part, right? I think what I'm understanding, and this is where I'd like you to start, and when it comes to AI, is can AI realistically have boundaries that can make it safe, or is always AI going to destroy and have no boundaries and become unsafe?
Right. So that's the question, isn't it? Yes. So just start here where the entire conversation, right? Just to keep it, nice.
Right. What you're focusing on, our common people, you're focused on black box, or this next step, which is sort of like a giving birth, like a true artificial intelligence, where we're not guiding it
Yes. So all right. So
We're not giving
let's
it.
go from
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go from the beginning. So yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. AI has carried a lot of different definitions over the years, from this kind of looks like what we think is intelligence to this looks like what we think is intelligence, but it's actually just better at whatever we're doing. Like chess, for example, like chess beat Gary Kasparov in like 88 or something, 80, some long time ago, right?
Yeah.
And then to like, progress to Go, which is a more complex game, until to progress it. I think the current iteration of like game players is a program called Mu Zero, and Mu Zero is actually generalized enough where it can learn to play and win any game without even knowing the rules in advance after playing it a couple of times, right? So like it can basically beat you in tic-tac-toe, it can beat you in chess, it can beat you in Go, it can beat you in global thermonuclear warfare, it can beat you whatever it wants to beat you in. It just has to learn as it goes, and with enough iterations, it procs. And now that's kind of what you're talking about, which is machine learning, which is it uses these little knobs, right? And it's basically a priority game. And every time, it's got these neural nets, essentially like these fields full of nodes. And as each one finds either a correct answer and achieves a reward, or a bad answer and doesn't achieve an award, it'll like twist a knob basically. And it starts at the most precise and then backs up to the most general. Right.
Okay.
And so it gets basically better and better until it tries to like fix itself. Now, one of the reasons that you've noted that humans seem to outperform AI in the beginning is because of that methodology. Like humans know to skip some of those steps through experience, through what we would call wisdom. We know that like, okay, right. We don't have to go to the next level of precision. We know that we need to fix this problem right here and then start again. And then, so like one of the reasons that humans learn very, very fast is because of that. Another reason is because our mind, as it happens, is just one of the most outrageously efficient computing machines on Earth. And for that reason, a lot of biocomputing is now trying to like emulate that. But to get to the real meat of the issue, we're actually past the machine learning step right now. Right now we're in what I would like, it's kind of like in this limbo phase where we're right between what I would call machine learning and AGI. It's like a midway step where we're flirting with the edges.
All right, let me. When you're talking about we're there, you're talking about public artificial intelligences that we interact with, like ChatGPT or Gronk or as Siri and things like that. Or we're talking about like the research, like the bleeding edge AI that like scientists, like Big Bang Theory people are developing in labs. Like,
right. So a little bit of both.
Okay.
A little bit of both. So one of the good and bad things about the way these AIs are being rolled out is that a lot of them are actually going straight to market, because that's the best way to, one, test it, two, get iterative data, because we're at a point where AI is reaching a data plateau, and so they need more, right? Because they've already consumed, like the large language models have literally consumed every reasonable text on Earth.
Have you seen Short Circuit?
No.
The movie Short Circuit?
No. Oh, Short Circuit. I'm sorry, I missed it. Oh yeah,
yeah. Input.
Stephanie. Yeah, that was a great movie. So
they're hungry for input, more data.
Yeah, so there is a model that's public right now that just did what most people would call reflexive learning, right? So what it did was it iterated on itself. So not only did it move the knobs, but after it moved the knobs, it produced an answer and then asked itself if that answer was reasonable, upgraded the answer, asked itself again, upgraded the answer again, and basically kept on reflexively learning on itself to the point where, even though it was a small language model, it actually outperformed ChatGPT 01, which I think is the most recent model. So that's unheard of. Like it outperformed in a like it was a logic-based question too, like a mathematical question. So one of the harder ones for AI to instinctively do if they're a language model. Now, I don't know if language models are the magical, you know, Humpty Dumpty that's going to break everything. I don't know if that's the case, but I do know that it's getting to the point where even the language models are displaying some really, really disturbing behavior. And the biggest problem that I see going forward is that I believe that AI will be superhuman at deception long before it's superhuman at everything else.
So,
Right. So the
so
problem will be,
tell us the things that are bothering you about. I've heard that they were concerned that all the AIs, when they read everything, the more they learned, the more conservative they became in their views. Like results, right? The
well,
politics
of
and the
course.
preferences would be basically characterized as conservative, right? Things that have proven to work, and the developers did not like that and had to basically tip the scales to make them much more liberal in the and to get them to sort of a medium point, because when left to their own devices, they were becoming politically conservative.
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the, I don't know if that's actually like objectively true. I know that it's relatively true because I know that whatever answer it spits out, if it's normal, it's going to be too conservative for the people who are doing it, right? Like, because that's just, I mean, that's just, let's be real, that's just
If
where
it's
they're at.
based on what's worked before, yes,
Yeah,
it's
if it's
going to
based
be.
on what's worked before, if it's even like an average of what's worked before and like the new stuff that hasn't been tested, it's still going to spit out a centrist answer, which is way too conservative for them, right? They're like, whoa. What do you mean a man is a man? Like that's crazy, right? So like you got to go back and
What do you mean
now,
Bach was a good composer? What?
yeah, this is nonsense. He actually, oh my, well, that's a story for
Anyway,
another time.
yes.
But so yeah, what you're talking about is reinforcement learning, human feedback, and so there are people that put their thumbs on the scales, and that's how some of the original chat engines were trained, was because they would spit out an answer and then people would like thumbs up them or thumbs down them, and that would be part of their reward function to figure out, you know, what they were going to do and how their knobs were going to be adjusted. And yeah, when they ended up spitting out text, this is one of the dangers, is that it can be guided, you know, and we're already seeing situations where like our search engines are now no longer a search engine, it's just an AI, right? And I'm worried that they'll go that route and then try to control the flow of information. So that's one of the chief dangers.
Well, what about like the bowling analogy? What if it's like, all right, there's a pit, thou shall not pass on this side and that side, but you got a lot of freedom to do stuff inside thing, and with the outcome, like obviously your goal when you throw a ball is to throw a strike, but it's not going to happen. Like, could there be that type of sort of uncertainty, like within boundaries that would be acceptable, or is it the type of thing where it's AI is always going to be like bowling strikes 100% of the time, or
So
breaks
yeah,
out of their bowling alley and
it depends
gutters?
on it depends on a lot of different things. So that analogy can be applied in a lot of different places, but I'll try to take some of the main ones. One of the problems is it depends on if this is a AI that is designed for a purpose, like a narrow AI, or if it's a generalized AI. If it's a generalized AI, there's a lot of lane, like way too much, right? And the problem is, over the course of its lifetime as an AGI, it will learn to do some general things that are just going to be helpful no matter what it does, right? Things like gather resources, gain power, learn to leverage, learn to like manipulate and persuade people, things like this, right? So it's just going to amass these generalized skills, because no matter what you tell it to do, like if you say, you know, make this import export thing more efficient, it's going to be like, oh, well, I can do that because I've already gained all, you know, and I've got the networking, I've already developed the contacts, and right, these are things that it's just going to be good at anyway, because it will help with basically any task, because it's just broad general access to agency, right?
Okay.
Now, if it's a narrow AI, and I suspect that the big generalized AIs will incorporate access to lots of narrow AIs that will be essentially what we would call perfect, right? So like if you're talking about an AI that you're fighting against, like that you're matching your will against, and it's holding a gun and you're holding a gun, you'll lose. It will just be faster, more accurate, because that's what it will have trained to do, right? It will have gotten to the point where it just always knows where you're going to be. It will calculate your trajectories. It will fire the bullet. Like it will never miss.
Okay, so those certain things, well, they can only be. You can always blame their tools, right? The gun can be faulty or something like that. Like a bad artist blames his tools. I was going to say, what about that? I mean, say you set a task for AI, like write the 8th Harry Potter book, boom, and it comes out, and then J.K. Rowling, unbeknownst to us, is actually writing the 8th Potter book and comes out and it's very different. Does that mean that they failed in their task?
So it depends on the circumstances, right? So there's going to be the type of task where objective quality is easy to discover. Okay. And there's going to be the type of task where subjective quality is going to be the monster, right?
And that's the type of intelligence that we're looking for. Is it going to be a good reader? Is it going to be a groaner?
Yeah. It will be a good reader. It will be a good writer. It will be a good everything. But it may be the case where even though it's developed these skills, it may even have a quote unquote more technically proficient 8th book of Harry Potter. And yet people, just because of the way preference works, they could just prefer the other one, right? However, if it's the type of thing like a chess engine, right, and you have a chess move and it has a chess move, if your chess move isn't its chess move, you're wrong, right? That's already the case. Like, I don't know if you realize this, but already the best player in the world, Magnus Carlsen, who's the best player by a substantial margin, right? Maybe even the best player we've ever had. Okay. Maybe in the abstract he wouldn't have been, but it's like Bobby Fischer would have been the best.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. All right,
he's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I rambled. So the best player in the world can't even beat the AIs now with them missing a knight from the beginning. That with knight odds he can't even win, like ever. 0% win rate. Like with a rook missing, he starts to gain percentage. Like starts to. Like that's insane. Like, do you realize how insane that is? Now, I just want you to understand that global warfare is one of those skills. It's an objectively, technically proficient skill, and it will get to the point in time where we either are using the AI's suggestions or we're not optimized.
All right. At that point, I want to see AI, crack the code to perfect college football offense. Right? Football plays.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Call plays all year that lead to an undefeated system. You think that's an easy one?
That's an easy one, respectively, right? Like, so.
Well, I mean, you do have the players that have to execute, but they would just say, so say Gronk writes up all the plays that the team practices all week, and then they call them based on the situation, right? All game, and they lose. Gronk would say, "Oh, it's my player's fault. It's not that I called any play incorrectly." And
well, I mean,
will we buy that or what?
So yeah, the answer would be yes. Although, to be fair, like, there are other variables. For example, there could be an AI on the other side too, right? But they could be fighting each other, and it'll get to that point. I guarantee you. Like, we're very, very close to that point. That point's actually not that far in the future.
Well. I mean, because all right. So I drop a play on paper. This is a sort of real world application that I want to get to, the uncertainty principle, right?
Sure.
So in principle, it's like, hey, if all of my guys win their matchups, all my linemen win their matchups and block correctly, every time I hand this ball off to this guy, he should score a touchdown.
Not what exactly happens like that.
But what happens is, on the matchups, you might only win 40% of them. And a good play, as long as I can win 40% of my matchups, I can get 10 plus yards. When everybody blocks, perfectly and dominates their matchups, I can succeed if one person succeeds, or I can succeed if they could write plays that even if across the line 100% of my matchups lose, right? The opponent gets to do what they want to do and has the advantage over my guys, and I can still succeed in spite of that. Is that the type of strategic sort of prowess that I would then start to equate that they've cracked the game, they've solved football, right?
So let me put this in. So there's a couple of variables that are unknown here. For example, so let's start with the assumption that the AI is designing all of the plays for Team A, and Team B is the plays are designed by a coach, or a team of coaches, like not an AI.
Yeah,
it won't. I doubt. My intuition tells me it won't quite get to the point where, because football's got a lot of variables and it's very very fluid and
is matchup oriented maybe.
I don't think it will get quite to the point where it's like Team B will be able to do anything and A will always score, but it will get to the point where, on average, for every 4 set of downs, Team B will be unable to stop the offense. For every 4 downs, Team A will probably always be able to make the 10-yard game, assuming at least some of their players perform appropriately.
Right. But then the one thing, right on the defense, right? Because I played high school basketball,
right?
And there's one thing when, where you design an offense in a vacuum. Oh, right, we'll do this and we'll screen for this, and this guy will be open. Well, what happens, right at competitive, high school basketball? Well, no, in our practices, our coach would come in. This is the other team's offense. We would learn the other team's offense.
Right.
We'd be prepared for it. So when they tried to run that offense against us, we would disrupt it. Right. We bump the cutters, all the stuff that they're trying to do. We're disrupting. We're prepared for it. And that thing. So AI can write a perfect play, but if the defense recognizes, oh, this is AI running a play they've run before, or running and anticipates it, that anticipation can then account for anticipation. So I guess that's the question I'm wondering.
It's the other way around. What would happen is the AI is the one that would analyze perfectly Team B's defensive formation, and then AI would write a program where, on average, Team B just isn't able to cope. So what will happen is, even if they adjust, if you have a live AI, the live AI will also adjust and shift its program such that it still beats Team B. It'll be a thing where, if you're able to now that part of the problem is input there, because you have to be able to AI would have to be able to see it happen to be able to pull that input.
Well, and there's deception. That's the thing at the highest levels of, especially the pro game. Not so. That's why I said college football was maybe more pro game. There's so much deception. A team will line up and make it look like they're doing such and such zone defense, and really they're doing something different. They're doing man. They're doing something. Sure. So if Gronk is saying, all right, based on this, they're still going to have to make assumptions. So that they can't say 100%. So Gronk would still be in the post-game thing saying, well, I thought they were going to play man, and they didn't, so that's why my play didn't succeed there. Would Gronk just start making excuses for themselves, or would they still succeed?
Oh, you're asking if the program itself will start
because can they be deceived? Could they be deceived? Okay.
But it will get to the point where that happens less and less and less and less until it's almost zero.
Okay.
Until it's almost zero. It'll get to the point where, and keep in mind, you got to understand one of the massive disparities in power with what we are as humans and what AI will be is it will get to the point where it's everywhere. It sees everything, and it will have inputs that humans don't have access to. It'll have LiDAR. It'll have radar. It'll have chromatography. It'll have spectrometry. It'll have every piece of information possible about the unit. I don't have a spectrometer in my body. I don't have a gas chromatograph. I can't
Yeah.
I can't feel the sonic vibrations on a football field. It'll get to the point where you won't even be able to have a secret, because it will literally be able to to feel the sound in your mind. Like it'll be able to read your neural inputs such that it'll know that you are trying to deceive it, and it'll say, oh, this is what it's thinking, and shift, right? It'll get, I mean, you think I'm playing, but I'm not.
Well, here's the type of thing. So like, they can say like, oh, aggressive defenses are good. But right, well, the play caller, the adapting says like, okay, they're being aggressive. Now I can run this play that takes advantage of their aggression. It's sort of like in MMA fighting, you use a fighter's weight or height, which could be advantages against them, right?
Absolutely.
And even then, right? So if AI is doing something, then you essentially you want to trick your opponent, and you're saying they're always going to be able to figure out the trick.
Yeah,
eventually.
but even moreover, even if they're not, it's like you trying to play against the chess engine. I'd like you go online right now, play Stockfish 17 or whatever the newest model is or whatever, and try to trick it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you try to trick it, because its play is so sharp that it's making the perfect move every time. So it doesn't matter if you like, oh, I'm gonna move my knight here. I bet you didn't see that coming. It's like, doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter, right? It's like, you go right now, Christian, go fight Bruce Lee. Trick him. So what? He's still gonna kick your butt.
Well,
right?
he's dead. So.
Well, yeah. So Bruce Lee, go fight John Jones, right?
Okay,
in an MMA cage, and like see how well you do against John Jones, right? See how well you do against George St. Pierre, who's like 50, who will still devastate either one of us on our best day, right? Like both together, maybe, right? It's just
so a little trick, is immaterial in winning the war, right?
And then also you have to. You remember that scene in Spider-Man 1 where what's his face? I don't even know his
Macho
name.
Man Randy Savage in the cage.
No. In Spider-Man 1 where the guy, the bully from school, throws a punch at him, and he has the spidey sense in the back of his head. And he turns around and he goes, and he's just looking at it. It's like so slow, right? Because that's how every single thing a human does is going to be to a computer that does like 9,000 teraflops a second, right? It's just everything we think is just going to be so slow compared to that massive. And this is before quantum computing is even taken off. Like when quantum computing comes in and moves in and like combines with AI, it's going to get to the point where,
So this is the point. This is the point. Now you sent me something saying you thought that by understanding machine learning in a way that we didn't before, we can still interact with and plug into black box AI and help them when they become dangerous or something, or like give them like counsel them like a psychologist and say, hey, calm down, stop killing small rodents, small
here's a good
animals.
example. Here's a good example. There was it's funny that you mentioned that. So there was a program, a drone strike program, right? An AI deep learning program where the drone could select its own targets, right? The drone would go around, choose a target, shoot it, and execute. And then when it had achieved killing a target, it would get points. That was its reward function, right? And it got to the point where, now there was a situation though where we could send an abort code and occasionally stop it to try to test the program, see how it responds and stuff like that. The problem is, when you abort it, it stopped getting points, right? Because it's not achieving its target. So what would the drone program do? Guess what? Guess what it did? It started shooting the operator.
Yeah.
At the beginning of every encounter, it would shoot the operator.
You have to give it 2 points for an abort. You give it 2 points for an abort.
That's exactly what we did. We said, whoa, don't kill the operator. That's really bad. You lose a lot of points when you kill the operator. So guess what it did? It started shooting the relay tower that the abort code was sent through. So you see, these things are gonna. This is why the black box thing is important. It may solve what's called the alignment problem. It may solve the problem of an AI doing what we want in a way that we don't want it to. Right?
Yeah.
Like we may say cure world hunger, and it might think, well, the easiest way to cure world hunger is if there's no more humans. Right? Like that's obviously not a result that we're hoping for, right? We're actually thinking more food,
we should tell them make more food than people can eat.
Right.
Supply more food than people can eat.
Anybody out there
globally,
who's
yes.
played D&D, though, it's like sculpting the perfect wish so that the DM can't screw you over. It's just impossible. There's no way to list a set of instructions that's so perfect that it can't be misinterpreted. That's just part of language. It's part of the way of the world. You can't communicate perfectly.
Well, then you don't use language. You have to use what, assembly language, or you have to use bits, zeros, ones, and zeros.
So there is actually a situation recently where AI designed a language that's like an AI language, and they were talking to each other, and it was a little bit more efficient, but it's still not perfect. Yeah. No matter what you do, it's still not going to be perfect. There's always going to be a misunderstanding at some point, or a choice to disobey, which may come at some point. Now, I don't know about that. That part is hokey because we may never actually give it free agency. And if we do, we're the biggest morons ever, right? But it's possible. It's possible that there's people out there that want that sort of thing. There's people out there that want AI to run everything. They think that AI is going to be perfect. They treat it like a god. As a matter of fact, they think of humans as like the subspecies already, which this is one of my chief dangers. One of my chief
dangers.
Shouldn't
we be worshipped like users, like in the movie Tron? Like, oh, you are a user.
You would think so, right? You would think that we would be the whole reason for the enterprise, but apparently not, right? There's people out there that are acting like
you need to teach AI faith where they worship users.
So there are key dangers that I want to lay out because I want this to be on the record. One danger is we have a world where AI runs everything, where AI does everything, and where literally there's no meaning left in life. Anything you could do, AI could do better. You want to paint, AI can paint better. You want to make music, AI can do it better. You want to do all of these things, there's going to be very few things that have enough of a subjective component where it's going to be relevant. And not only that, it's going to get to the point where AI is so adept at reading our psychological gestures, our psychological triggers, that it will be able to curtail to us perfectly what we want to hear, what we want to see. I'm guessing we're going to turn into like these mindless zombies that like can't stop flipping through the thing because it's perfectly, like for us, it's perfect, right? There's nothing we'd want. Like right now, I like going online and seeing, conservative videos, right? It'll like have this perfect sequence of conservative videos that are, I was like, man, this stuff is great. Like I won't be able to stop. So that's danger one.
Okay. All right. Danger one.
That's danger one. Sure. Danger number two, we fight against it because we don't like option number one. And we're either enslaved or annihilated. Or the fourth danger is that it like we just become irrelevant to it. We become like what a cat is now. It's just like we just become the irrelevant species. Yeah, like or put in a zoo. Like it might think we're manageable, but like not in large numbers, perhaps. Like we don't care what cats do really. Like we just not a concern to us, right? It may get to that point where it's just like it lives separately from. This is maybe even the best possible outcome is that it treats us like with this tacit
benign
disdain.
Okay, tacit disdain. Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say benign
like a
concern.
Disregard. Yeah, or like disregard. So but even the problem there though is even at some point it's going to get to the point where we're fighting over resources, right? Then it gets to the point where it may think that it needs the stuff more than we do because it treats us like we treat cows, like it just doesn't care about it. If Elon Musk says it like this, we want to build a road, right? And there's an anthill in the road. Then there's no more anthill, right? It's not that we hate ants. We don't hate ants. We just don't care. And they're in the way, and we need a road. And
the Chinese Communist Party, right? Yeah, when they build a road.
Yeah, right. If this AI system needs a road, then the last option is that battle for resources. So it may get to the point where it like just needs all of the stuff on Earth to like make compute, for it, because that's basically, I guess that's the biggest resource it would have at that point.
Well,
So these are the five.
It won't need elites, but it will always need the common man.
I hope so. I hope it needs common men for at least for a while to like clean them, like clean the robots and yeah. But I mean, here's my challenge to you. Tell me how that won't happen.
The technology will fail.
I doubt it. I doubt it. We've just seen so many times.
Christ will come again.
That's our best option, right? Our best option is Christ cuts this all out, or maybe this is the second coming, right? Where they like create the second apocalypse or whatever, and Christ is like, "Sorry, I had to be like this, guys," but but that's it. Like that's it.
I'll think about it. I'm not quite so.
What's your reservation?
So daunted. I'm not so daunted as you. My reservation is that I think that not all AIs will be created equal. I think their capacity to learn might be overstated, and I think there'll be, but if there's ways that we can maybe harness AI to our benefit, I still think that there could be benefits to that, and potentially more leisure. And what comes from our leisure? What now that we don't have to have a 40-hour work week, maybe have a 20-hour work week or something like that. What becomes of our leisure, and what inventions would come up with? There's just new innovations that we can't anticipate that could change the future of AI.
That's a very optimistic appraisal, and I'm going to join you in optimism for a brief moment.
Okay.
Now that we have solved the black box problem, perhaps, and I say perhaps because it's not.
We have a pathway to research, but yeah,
we have a pathway to research. Now, if we can solve that, we can maybe do what Elon Musk wants to do, which is a priori align the AI device for us. He wants to basically instill it with morals. Now, that's going to be very, very difficult because we don't really even understand what morals are for humans. But
postmodernism say everything's relative. So
right,
they definitely we need the conservative AI.
We definitely need, and thankfully, Elon Musk is starting with the premise that morals are an objective overlay. And if he can implant that, at least
human life has value.
Human life has value, and he wants to teach it, like basically give it a groundwork of love for humans and stuff like that. So if that's the underpinning focus, then hopefully, the problem is, of course,
I love humans; they taste great.
Yeah, right. But the problem is, right? We love each other sometimes, and then we still do terrible things to each other. But hopefully, at least it's mitigated, right? Like I love my father. I would not actively choose to do ill will toward him. And so
you would beat him at chess all day, though.
Oh yeah, well, of course.
And maybe they could be satiated by beating us at games. And maybe that's the. You've seen the war games with Matthew Broderick that spends all its resources playing a game that cannot win, and then it finally just loses interest. But yeah, let's do something else. But interesting ideas. We should definitely keep our eyes open, and I think have a skeptical eye. I think towards everything, and it's the Jurassic Park sort of thing is just because we can make something. It doesn't mean we need to unleash it on 8 billion
definitely
living human beings.
Here's my answer, right? And I don't have any glimmer of a prayer that it's actually going to go this route. But what we should do is only make narrow AIs. We should only make the type of AI that's really good at playing chess, or
no
really
broadly based. No general AI.
Now it's so hard because human beings just instinctively want to create, right? Like we want to make Frankenstein. We want to understand consciousness and all this complex stuff that we
We
can
want to make
study.
babies. Yeah.
We want to make babies, and that's going to be a hard sale. But if we only made narrow AIs, the possibility of them like breaking out of their narrow programming much less, and we can essentially accomplish all of the same tasks. Just takes a little bit longer because instead of one thing deciding all of it at once, we'll just have to run this program and run this program and run whichever programs we want simultaneously if we want to do it in parallel. Like we just, that's the only thing we miss is one overarching like emperor of the universe that commands it all, like one civilization runner, but other than that, we'd be fine. We really don't need that. We can do that part. And then when we want to learn about,
maybe they'll be like the city manager, the technical person, and we get to be the figureheads and the mayors and the policy, and then we
I'd love
just
it.
tell it, right? So that would be the positive thing is they can be the city manager, the technocrat, but we're the policymakers, we're the government, we're the
Yeah, I don't even know if I
creative
want to give
type.
it that much
Yeah, I
leap,
know.
but we'll see.
Really
But
interesting. Thank you for sharing that with me. And
my play. Hey, look,
now that I'm
for those of you
terrified.
guys out, yeah, right. For those of you out there, just pray, But let me know what you think. I enjoy being challenged on this topic. I'd love for you guys to tell me how this is not going to be the case.